Hello friends, now we are taking the different topics which have been a part of ethics, but we can say they are some miscellaneous topics or extra topics. Okay, so the first one that we have to cover is attitude. So what is mean by attitude? Attitude is the aggregate of a person's evaluation about a target object. The target can be a person, animal, situation, substance, issue, or any abstract concept. So, if we read this statement, then what we can infer is that in simple term, attitude is a person's evaluation, or we can say a judgment. That is how a person perceives any situation, any issue, any other person or living being or substance or any concept. Okay, so in simple term, what are my views regarding politics? So what is my attitude toward politics? Is it a positive attitude, negative attitude, or I don't care attitude? Like this we want to say. Okay, so attitude is a very important thing. How is your attitude towards your organization? How is your attitude towards your juniors? How is your attitude towards your senior? And the most important, how is your attitude towards your own work? Okay, so that's why attitude becomes very important. How a person evaluates or judges the things around him or her, only this type of thinking can motivate or demotivate a person regarding his work. Okay, so in other words, we can say whenever a person sees or thinks of a target thing, the sum of thoughts and emotion that get created in a person is attitude. So simply it is a sum of thoughts and emotion regarding anything. This is attitude. Okay. So further, we have to understand that it is a subjective individual interpretation. Individual interpretation of objective outside world. So what it mean by this is that subjective individual interpretation. So first of all, we can say the attitude of each individual can be different towards a particular thing. So there are 10 person and there is one issue, then all that 10 persons will have different opinions about that issue. Okay, so it is individual thing. And subjective, obviously they have different opinions, so it depends on the person itself. But we have to understand that the issue is objective in itself. The facts of that of issue or that situation will remain as it is. But on that facts, how I am deciding or how I am evaluating that facts is called as attitude. Okay. So attitude about a target object range in the continuum between the two extremes, positive attitude and negative attitude. So what I mean to say is that for any issue, a person can have a very positive attitude and the another person can have a very negative attitude. So these are the two extremes, positive, negative. And in between them, there could be various other type of attitudes. A person could be in dilemma, he could not decide whether positive or negative. A person can have attitude of I don't care whether it is positive or negative, I don't just care. Okay, sometimes a person becomes positive towards a issue, sometimes a person becomes negative towards the issue. So there could be a continuum between a positive and negative attitude. Okay, and in fact if we observe or if you join the services, then you will observe that many a times the attitude towards our work or organization becomes very positive and many times it becomes very negative. Okay, so there is a whole range of what we have studied is thoughts and emotions, whole range of thoughts and emotion about any person or situation. Okay, so this is called as attitude. Now another thing that we have to understand is ABC model of attitude. What is mean by this? That there are three components of attitudes. There are three components of attitudes. A refers to affective component, C refers to cognitive component, and B refers to behavioral component. Okay, so what is A, what is C, what is B? Now we will understand. The first one is affective. So affective component, it is concerned with the emotional part of attitude. It is concerned with the emotional part of attitude. How are your emotions? So it relates to how one feels emotionally about an object, person, issue, or an event. Okay, very simple. The second one is cognitive, and it is concerned with the mental part of attitude. Mental part implies that it is concerned with the information, knowledge, and thoughts. So it is concerned with the facts of that issue or a person. And the affective components relate to the emotions, how you feel about that issue or that person. And finally, the third one is behavioral component. And behavioral component is concerned with the action part of attitude. That is, it refers to the way one reacts, responds, or behaves towards a target object. Okay. So finally, you have to understand what we can say is the affective and cognitive components, they results in the behavior component. So let's say I have a positive feeling, positive emotion about any situation, and I have positive thoughts about that situation. So automatically my behavior, my action will also be positive. Okay, so you have to understand how I behave is also part of attitude. But this part of attitude arises from, or the reason behind them is the affective component, the emotional component, and the cognitive component, that is thought component. Okay. So finally, we have understood the attitude in of any person about any organization, situation, or any other person. Okay, so this was another important part of ethics and values, which is called as attitude. Now we will take another important term, which is called as emotional intelligence.